Nicolas Maduro was handpicked by Hugo Chavez in 2013, it was clear that he would follow in his socialist dictatorship footsteps. Since that time, Maduro's policies, rampant corruption, and violent crackdowns on peaceful political dissent have turned Venezuela into a failed state. Hyperinflation has skyrocketed, food and medicine are scarce, and according to the United Nations, up to 3 million people have fled the country since 2014. Last week, a fuel tanker and 2 shipping containers were placed on a bridge to block the delivery of desperately needed humanitarian aid as seen on the screen. This act highlights how evil the Maduro regime really is. The current crisis highlights the horrifying impact of socialism. Those who continue to preach or show sympathy do not understand its history and the abject suffering it has caused. Let us be clear. The suffering of the Venezuelan people at the hands of the Maduro regime is not caused only by its ideology. The Maduro regime is full of criminals that oversee a mafia state backed by U.S. adversaries like Cuba, Russia, China, and Iran, and is linked to drug trafficking and other illicit activities. Today, the people of Venezuela have had enough, and over the last month, they have started to take back their country that they love. Inspired by Juan Guaido, leader of the National Assembly and interim president, millions of protesters have rallied in the streets across the country and stood up to the Maduro dictatorship. Bolstered by the leadership of the United States, many nations around the world, including most Latin American and European countries, are standing with him, as the TV monitor shows. I commend the president for recognizing Juan Guaido as a legitimate interim president, for supporting his efforts to call for free and fair elections, and for imposing sanctions that hold the regime responsible for their criminal actions. This week, I will be introducing a resolution. I continue to work with the chairman in a bipartisan manner to condemn the criminal actions of Nicolas Maduro and countries like Cuba, Russia, China, Iran, and Syria for supporting his regime. It also clearly recognizes Juan Guaido as interim president and urges the international community to support the humanitarian and economic assistance for Venezuela. The Venezuelan people need to know that America is on their side, but it should also be known that we do not aim to choose their next leader. We simply want the conditions that would allow the people to choose for themselves. Our role must be a supportive one, but one that stands for universal principles of freedom and democracy. And today's hearing will allow us to discuss how we can play that role to the best of our ability. In January, I was pleased that the President and Secretary Pompeo called on Elliott Abrams to serve as special envoy for Venezuela. As a seasoned diplomat who has served in numerous foreign policy and national security positions, I believe that Mr. Abrams is the right man for the job. And I look forward to hearing his testimony, as well as the testimony of the other experts here today. I believe this is an issue that both parties can come together on and do what's best for the people of Venezuela to support this noble cause. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you very much. It's now my pleasure to introduce our witnesses. Mr. Elliott Abrams is the U.S. Special Representative